I remember being an excited 15-year-old sophomore when I learned that Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, was happening. And yes, just for your information, that is my sophomore yearbook photo. Especially since we were 6 years removed from Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and all the disappointment that surrounded that entry. Even as a 9-year-old kid, I could tell that Part 5 wasn't very good.
I just love barbaric men.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
It's what we're here for.
Rescue cats.
Find dogs.
That's a job.
And we love it.
Especially with the sheer amount of horror movies that I'd seen at that young age. Freddy, Jason, and others. And my affinity for Part 4, which I watched as soon as it hit Viewer's Choice pay-per-view the year before. The aforementioned Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, which was released 1 week less than a year before the 5th installment would hit theaters, was positively received for the most part, and performed well at the box office, making the downturn in quality in Part 5 a tough pill to swallow for fans of the iconic character who had just begun to celebrate the Shape's return to the big screen. Moving forward into the 6th entry of the franchise, enter the Weinsteins and Dimension Films. Director Joe Chappelle, best known for his work on the HBO series The Wire, with a story written by Daniel Farrens, who has written and produced some great horror docs on Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. Cinematography was handled by Billy Dixon, known for his work later on Ally McBeal. Alan Howarth was back to score the film as he had in his earlier collaborations with Carpenter, with production companies Trancas International Pictures, Halloween 6 Productions, and Nightfall Productions involved, and the distribution to be handled by Dimension Films. The overall budget for the film was $5 million before marketing and distribution, meaning before the home video sales started to accumulate, this movie came close to losing money, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. We still had Dr. Loomis in Curse of Michael Myers, played by Donald Pleasance in what would sadly be his final role before passing away. George P. Wilbur returned as The Shape, a debuting Paul Rudd, who had shot Curse of Michael Myers prior to Clueless, but Clueless would enter theaters on July 19th, 1995, compared to The Curse of Michael Myers dropping on September 29th. The film also starred Mitchell Ryan as Dr. Wynn, best known for his role in Dark Shadows and Dharma and Greg, and Marianne Hagan as Kara Strode rounding out the main cast. Lest we forget that this movie recast Danielle Harris's character of Jamie Lloyd.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
The decision to recast Jamie upset fans, given that Harris' performance in Part 4 was so well received and how they muted her role in Part 5, no pun intended. Fans wanted her back. She wouldn't return to the franchise until the Rob Zombie remakes, but we don't talk about those here. Speaking of The Curse of Michael Myers and its theatrical release, against a $5 million budget, it ended up grossing over $7 million its opening weekend, being the first film out of the franchise to beat out Halloween 2's box office opening total. It was bested by, in its opening weekend, a movie sitting atop the charts for its second week in widespread release. A little picture starring Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Kevin Spacey called Seven. Alas, the strong opening weekend numbers wouldn't last. As word of mouth spread, the film suffered a whopping 66% drop-off in its second weekend, relegating it to 8th place at the box office and only a $2.4 million haul. Its third weekend was even worse, as it was only able to draw $1.4 million and dropped another 41%. To this day, the movie rests at a horrendous 8% critic and 37% Rotten Tomatoes score. Curse of Michael Myers was the third movie in the Thorn trilogy, as it's been called, which began in Part 4 and was continued in Part 5 with the appearance of the Man in Black, which was revealed in this entry to be Dr. Terrence Wynn, Mitch Ryan, who is the administrator of Smith's Grove Sanitarium in the original movie.
It's me, Austin!
Fans hated the inclusion of the cult aspect, as it detracted from the established lore of Myers as simply an unstoppable lone killer, hell-bent on killing his sister Laurie and anyone else who gets in his way, without the cult guiding his actions for some greater reason. I'm going to forego explaining the cult of Thorn for another video, which will be released if you guys are interested in that. Also, the third act of Curse of Michael Myers was heavily changed by the producer's cut of the movie, which we can break down in another future project as it pertains to all the differences between the two releases. Suffice it to say that the producer's cut has the better of the two endings that didn't include the transfer of the Thorn tattoo from Myers to Loomis. ending with the shot of Myers' mask, a syringe on the floor, and Loomis screaming off screen. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, gave us the best mask since the original movie. And we got George Wilbur back as the Shape, a role he reprised from Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. The level of physicality in this role was nothing short of brutal. Myers' kills in this movie were more aggressively violent than in previous installments, including a nurse being pinned to the wall, John Strode's head exploding after being electrocuted in the basement whilst finding his wife dead in the dryer. And how could we forget about the shock jock Barry, who was murdered in his van and strung up in a tree? How did Myers do that?
Yes, science!
I spoke earlier about there being multiple versions of this film, with both being available in the Shout Factory box set. The theatrical cut and the producer's cut feature differences in the coloration of the film, with the lion's share of difference coming in the way of the third act and how it played out regarding the cult activity. Another notable situation was the death of Pleasance, who played Dr. Loomis. Footage from reshoots had to be spliced together using previously shot scenes featuring characters interacting with Loomis. Paul Rudd gives a great performance in this movie as a grown-up Tommy Doyle, which is a testament to his skills as an actor, especially given the fact this was his first movie, and he really knew how to get into character despite the obvious issues with the overall writing. Speaking of the writing, which post-theatrical release was lambasted by critics, they wrote the opening of the movie to show us Jamie's fate after the events of Revenge of Michael Myers, some 6 years prior. Jamie, now a 15-year-old, had been held in captivity by the Cult of Thorn and impregnated by her Uncle Michael.
What? What the fuck?
Yes, you heard me right. They actually included a sort of unspoken incest story between Michael and his niece.
What the hell is even that?
Kind of makes you happy that Danielle Harris' role was recast prior to this one being released, so she didn't have to go through this. That alone is almost as offensive as Halloween Resurrection having Michael go on a reality show live stream killing spree. But without Resurrection, we never would have gotten this.
Good treat, motherfucker.
The inclusion of this type of scenario always makes me harken back to Friday the 13th Part 3, where a final girl, Chris, is telling her beau, Rick, that she had previously been attacked by Jason, his name unbeknownst to her, and possibly sexually assaulted. But it was left with a certain degree of ambiguity because she never mentioned those words. Halloween 6 does no such thing as Jamie is pregnant, and by powers of deduction, it's pretty clear that the baby is Michael's child. Oof. I saw Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers on VHS after it was released on home video, which was the theatrical cut, and at the time, it just seemed like a straightforward slasher, one that was very 90s in the manner that looking back now, this was Michael Myers for the MTV generation. I've been on record as saying that this is a bad movie, given most of the slasher movies work better in the 80s setting, as without mobile communication and the internet, it gives us more of a sense of isolation during tense moments with potential victims having no means to call for help. I don't really recommend Part 6 unless you're an absolute hardcore fan of the franchise, and I'll say the same thing regarding Part 5 because it's absolutely boring and flat out not very good. The recent release of the David Gordon Green trilogy, which erases all the sequels after the original 1978 movie, knocked this and everything else out of the continuity, which is a hilarious concept to me. As a viewer, they're telling you to unsee movies and act as if they don't exist, which is a complete asinine idea. I'm not defending the many bad entries into this franchise, of which there's a plethora, but the audacity of people telling you, no, that doesn't count anymore. This is what really happened, just makes me laugh. I reviewed the new trilogy, and I'll link those in the description, but spoiler alert, I hated all three of them. I'd watch Curse of Michael Myers on loop for 24 hours straight before I watched any of the David Gordon Green movies again, ever. Especially Halloween Ends, the Corey Cunningham story.
Emotional, damn it!
If you're interested in a full review of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, let me know in the comments below, as I have reviews of Halloween 1978, Halloween 2 from 1981, and Halloween 4 from 1988 planned, as well as a look at the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch and all of its glory. I'd like to welcome our new subscribers and let you all know from this point moving forward, we plan on staying with horror content year-round, and we'll be doing commentaries for more obscure independent horror movies, which will be available a day early for our channel members on both tiers, which you can join for $2.99 or $4.99 per month. If not, just subscribe because it's free and it always will be. Also, don't forget to ding the bell for notifications so you know when we go live for one of our 4 weekly live streams on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. with single-release videos and reviews coming during the week. We'll be retooling our member stream also to make it more accessible for our live audience. That's it, gang. Until next time, I'm Etep Wakuyan of The Place to Be Reviews. I've been here chillin', killin' with all of yous. If I don't see ya, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I will catch you on the next one.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.
I could do this all day.
Cruise, thank you very much.
What's up, bro?
You're pushing your luck, little man.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.